All right, welcome back to our podcast entitled
The Stuff You Need.
I'm James Days.
I'm Lacey Verdun.
Welcome today. We're going to be talking to, I like to affectionately call them the Glenn Squared. Dr. Glenn and
Baby Glenn.
No.
Yes, that's what we call her.
Okay, but she's not a baby.
Little Glenn.
I just call her Miss Glenn. Like, Dr. Glenn and Miss Glenn. That's what I went with Glenn Squared. Anyways, yeah. As you can notice, we are in a different location today. That's because our room is under construction.
We've been displaced.
We have been displaced. It's like
It's nice in here though.
it's nice in here, but we're gonna get kicked out at some point because they have meetings in here.
Well, hopefully it's just when we return.
Yeah.
It'll be nice in there.
It'd be nice in there. It would be pretty. You got everyone will be like, "Oh, this is so cool," or it'll be the same. But anyways, we're about to we're gonna transform in a second, and we're gonna have the Glens here. We're gonna have the Glens, Glenn Squared. We're gonna have them, and we're gonna talk about the Wildcat Warriors. It's a program that they came up with, and they implemented on our campus last year. Unfortunately, my tag team partner here, she's got to step out for a minute, but she'll be back for the third. All right, welcome back. I don't have my tag team partner for this segment, but that's okay. I got my two lovely guests here. They're going to talk about Wildcat Warriors. Now, this is something that came through, I think they started it last year. It was their idea. They came up with the idea. They came up with the strategies of who was going to be in there and stuff like that. But we need to get it going again this year. So what we're going to do, I brought them in because I want them to talk about exactly what is Wildcat Warriors, and then how can they recommend a kid to get in there, who's it for, will they stay there forever. So I'm going to turn it over to the Glenn Squared. That's what I'm going to call it, Glenn Squared.
+1.
+1. We got Marge here too.
Yeah.
That's Miss Verdun's stand-in right there.
Yep,
She's here in spirit.
she is.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Just tell us, what is Wildcat Warriors?
Wildcat Warriors is a program for students that may pose a challenge to your daily classroom lessons. So these are students that are not a part of the PASS program, or not a part of the 504 program. They are just students that every day in your class you have to constantly redirect them for interrupting lessons. We mean like loud outbursts. They may not be in their seats at all times. They're wandering the class. They have a hard time staying on task. They interject when you're speaking. Those types of students. The students that cause you to constantly have to stop your lessons.
Okay.
And also those that are constantly being sent to ISS.
Mm-hmm. Now, disrupts the class. What about, because I saw this morning, there was a ton of kids that were coming in late to school. Do you guys ever deal with those kids, or is that something that is dealt with, like with Ms. Burgos and them, talking to them, the parents, stuff like that?
If those are students that are coming in late and interrupting their classes, yes, they will be considered a Wildcat Warrior. But if they are not interrupting your class, as in having outbursts, or you're having to tell them shh all the time, then that's considered a warrior, not just someone who's late every day.
Okay. And so once they're in the Wildcat Warriors, so we know what group of kids we got. What do you guys do with them once they're in your? So this is during what period?
This is during 0 period. So instead of going to their assigned 0 period teacher, they would come to one of the 8th grade warriors will go to Dr. Glenn, and 7th grade warriors will go to Baby Glenn. And
Miss Glenn.
She called that herself, by the way.
These warriors, when they come into our room, so they are given a folder, which we call a behavioral tracker. And on this tracker, it has guidelines that they need to meet in every class period. And if they are not meeting these guidelines, then the teacher is keeping track of that on their behavioral tracker. When they are in 0 period with us, we address the issues that they may have had the day before on their behavioral trackers. And then we have various SEL lessons, various role playing, various goals that they make for the day or even for the week to get them back on track.
Okay, might I interject?
You sure
We
can.
also need teacher buy-in in keeping these trackers up to date, because if you don't fill them out, we're not going to know if they're doing better or not, or how their behavior is going. So please, teachers, make sure that you put accurate information, up-to-date information, and that you sign these trackers. Sometimes it can be a hassle, but it's part of the job, just like you have to sign the UIL sheets.
So what I say best practice is for the folders, because some of the warriors, they will pretend that they forgot, but the only reason they are pretending they forgot is because they don't want you to sign it, because they know that if they get a bad mark, it's the consequence that comes with that. So best practice is to take the folder as soon as they enter your classroom, the same way that you take UIL grade sheets. That's what I used to do, is I would just have them handed to me as soon as they come in, or I have a basket that I have my UIL grade sheets that go in there. They can also put their trackers in there. That way it won't be any confusion.
Great idea, great idea, great idea. So these individuals that become part of the Wildcat Warriors, they're in there all year, half the year, 5 minutes, like how long are they in there for?
So it is a 6-week program. However, some students do stay in longer, depending on what their teacher's feedback is. So it just depends on the students. Some students, they really get invested in the Wildcat Warriors, and they really like getting their tracker signed and seeing the progress that they're making, and they love the incentives that they get. So those students, they pretty much exit out quickly within the 6-week range. Our more challenging students, they may stay in from 6 to sometimes even 12 weeks, sometimes a little longer. It just depends on the student and depends on where we can get them within the school year.
So you talked about incentives. What are these incentives that you keep mentioning? Because, because now I'm kind of incentivized that I want to be a part of the Wildcat Warriors.
Okay, so Wildcat Warriors, they have in their tracker folder, there's it almost looks like a game board. So each time they do a good job during the day, or they have what we call props and demerits. Props are considered like good conduct marks. Demerits are the bad conduct marks. If they get a certain amount of props, they get to move up on their game board, and they get incentives like one day it might be a free slushie from the cafeteria. One day it might be Chick-fil-A. They even get no uniform passes. They get candy, chips, anything we can get to keep them on track and to keep them going into the right direction. Those are the incentives that are given to them. So think about snacks, free dress.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the demerits, they will get consequences for those. They get lunch detention, after school detention, and maybe teacher detention if I feel like staying with them.
And it's always a parent contact as well. The now stuff like ISS and all of that, that's out of our hands, but they don't like the lunch detentions or the after schools or any of that. So far those consequences have worked. We haven't had to move any further than that.
Cool.
Just yet.
So typically when we do a podcast, we usually put a click sheet together too. Is there any way we can get your the demerit sheets and a copy of that, so I can put that on there, so teachers can actually see what it looks like? So that's what they can be looking for when the kids are coming into the class.
We actually have a letter with the tracker on it that it entails everything that should go on the tracker, what you should be putting every day, things that would not be considered a Wildcat Warrior. And that was sent to the team leaders, so they will be sending that out to you soon. We just wanted to get.
No, you're fine. And I'm gonna put that on there too. I'm gonna put all that stuff on the clickable sheet too, so then everyone can have it, and there can be no oh well, I didn't get that message and stuff like that.
Thank you, Mr. Dave.
Yes.
No, thank y'all, because this is a beautiful I love this program because I feel like it reaches a lot of those kids, and it changes them. It changes their path. And I think that's the part that we like the most, is that it changes that path, because they could be going down the wrong way. They become one of your warriors, and they can turn that around. We really, as a Cunningham staff, we really appreciate the work that you guys have done with this too.
Thank you.
And one thing, please do not recommend anyone for Wildcat Warrior because they don't have supplies, they don't have Chromebooks, or they are sleeping in class. That is something you need to work classroom management and also contact the parents. Contact the parent.
Okay, is there anything else you guys want to say before we go?
Just remember to sign their trackers every day, please, please, please. That's the only way that we can address the issues in your classroom.
Well, thanks again, and that's good squared. Okay, so new segment to the show, to the podcast. It's are you smarter than a fifth grader? I always said kindergartner because some of these questions are relatively easy.
I think kindergarten is offensive.
Offensive. Okay, well.
I think if we say
And fifth graders
smarter
not.
than a kindergartner, that's
If
pretty
fifth graders
low.
not.
I'm saying the kindergarten
We
is
some
like
we some grown people. So before,
like it's low.
now before we go into this segment, let's just say that we got the okay from everyone. We went around. Well,
We got consent.
she got consent. She got consent. I didn't care about getting consent, but she cared to get consent, so we got consent.
Normally, I'm not gonna.
Right. This is why I don't
I
understand.
didn't want us to offend anybody.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So
And we in HR.
yeah, HR. Yeah, they are. That's the thing. So we had Dr. Glenn go around and ask some questions. Two different questions. One was, how do you go 25 days without sleeping? And another question she asked was, what can you feed and it's alive, and it stays alive, but give it a drink and it dies? So those were the two questions that she went out and she went to these people and she went after. Okay, so before we hit this thing, before we even watched it, we made a determination of, did we think that the person was going to get the question correct? So we're just going to go over the name.
These were brain teasers, though. Let's add that, right?
No, they were
brain teasers.
Okay, the brain teasers, but you know, whatever.
The brains were teased.
They were
Let's
teased.
say that.
Right. They're not in order. Okay,
They're
so
not in order.
we're just going to say them out loud, and then we're going to go through like what our predictions
What
were.
I picked, though.
I can tell you what you picked. So with so here we go. With Dr. Guest, we both said no.
That is not true.
Oh no,
I said yes to Dr. Guest.
I said no. She said yes. Okay. For Miss Robles / Mr. Harrison, we both said no.
It's a no for me. I feel like Randy off of American Idol.
For Coach Pigram, we both went yes.
We just knew Pig was
We just
going to
knew.
make us proud.
We just knew. For Miss Cole, we went yes.
I mean, she is a GT teacher.
GT
She
teacher.
has to think outside the box.
Outside the box. Tiffany Johnson, this is where we split. I said no. Ms. Verdun said yes. Miss Bennett, I said yes. Ms. Verdun said no. She had no faith in you. Mr. Puerta, we both said yes. And
the smartest person on our campus.
right, smartest person in our campus. Ms. Boyd, we both went no. We both went no. All right, so enjoy the clips. When we come back, you'll get what we saw.
Hi, I'm Miss T. Johnson. I teach 7th grade science here at CMS.
So, how do you go 25 days without sleeping?
How do a human go 25 days without sleeping? They don't. They had to be kidnapped or something and put in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Miss Cole. I'm an 8th grade science teacher.
How do you go 25 days without sleeping?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I'm Miss Bennett. I teach 8th grade science here at Cunningham.
How do you go 25 days without sleeping?
How do I go 25 days without sleeping? Give me a follow-up question.
What can you feed and it lives, but give it a drink and it dies?
If you feed it.
Okay.
Dr. Glenn.
Let's try it again another time. Thank you, Miss Bennett.
Yes, I teach 7th and 8th grade math.
What can you feed and it live, but give it a drink and it dies?
plant?
No.
Okay, we have Mr. Pickram here. What can you feed and it live, but give it a drink and it dies?
A fish.
Miss Robles.
Mr. Harrison.
What can you feed and it live, but give it a drink and it dies?
What can you feed and it...
Can't be nothing in water. Can't be a plant.
No, I was thinking that too.
A rock.
But give it water.
Final
and it dies?
answer?
That's not it.
Oh.
You're definitely not smarter than a 5th grader. No, I don't have an answer. I can't think of anything.
My name's Mr. Whitcomb.
What can you feed and it live, but give it a drink and it dies?
I almost said plant, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
I'm Miss Boyd. I teach 7th grade math.
What can you feed and it live, but give it a drink and it dies?
What can you feed and it live? Oh, that's hard. Not a fish. Can I phone a friend? Can I call somebody?
No. Is that your final answer?
Yes, I would just go with that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
So I don't know what to do here. None of you got it right.
I'm glad I didn't bet any money
So
on y'all.
let's see who. Like, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 right.
How many did I get?
You got 1, 2, 3 right.
Okay.
So 4 and 3. Okay. Next. So thank you for joining us for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the Glen Squared. I know they did some good work out there. They've got a great program that they're working with. The Wildcat Warriors. On the click sheet, you're going to have the what does it take to be a warrior, like the eligibility and all that good stuff is on the click sheet. So feel free to click on that. Thank you for watching this time.
I just want to say I appreciate y'all keeping me there, even though I wasn't there physically, keeping me there in spirit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
So do your line. Yeah, do your line.
what is the African name?
Welcome.
Please, please like, save, or subscribe our channel. We do appreciate you guys' support.
I don't think save's one.
Is it? You can't
No.
save a video.
Oh, you're right, you can. Yeah.
Marge got the mask on?
Okay. All right. Why? No.
You don't have to whisper.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's already, yeah.
You locked yourself out your office?
Out of your office. Get the camera view so everyone can see.
Playing with the police.
Play with the phone. All right, there we go.
Was that good? I can't see that far.
I can't.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Little camera.
Okay, so
Y'all are like,
children.
Yeah.
nope.
Famous children.
Hey!
Alright,
Click and subscribe. You want to move up the thing to 7th or 8th grade? Okay.
The 5th grader is like, it's offensive.
We'll see how long we do this thing.
So I'm like, I am smarter than, I have a 5th grader and I do his work. We get hundreds. All right.
Okay.
If I'm cuter next year, we're not using these.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I've been running.
Okay, thanks. Goodbye.